Customs officers are trained to detect hesitation, inconsistency, and nervousness. A single wrong answer, or even a technically correct answer delivered poorly, can pull you into secondary inspection, delay your trip by hours, or, in serious cases, result in denial of entry. Every year, thousands of travelers are turned back at borders not because they did anything illegal, but because they didn't understand what officers were actually asking or what the correct answer looked like. The rules changed significantly entering 2026. Enhanced biometric screening, AI-assisted passenger profiling, and tightened entry requirements across the US, EU, Schengen Zone, UK, Canada, and Australia mean the margin for error at the border is smaller than it has ever been. These are the 13 questions you need to answer correctly, every single time. Number 13, what is the purpose of your visit? This is the first substantive question almost every traveler hears, and it's where the most self-inflicted damage happens. The mistake people make is over-explaining. Officers are not looking for your life story. They are listening for a clear, consistent, single-purpose answer that matches your visa category and your travel documents. If you're entering on a tourist visa or visa waiver, your answer is tourism, sightseeing, or visiting friends and family. If you're on a business visa, your answer describes the specific business activity: attending a conference, meeting with clients, conducting training. The word work is a trigger word at most borders unless you hold a valid work authorization. Saying, "I'm here to do some work and also see some sights" when you hold a tourist visa is enough to generate a secondary referral. The correct approach: give a concise, single-sentence answer. "I'm here for tourism, visiting for 10 days. Stop talking. Officers are also listening for what you say after the question is answered, and unnecessary additions frequently create inconsistencies that require follow-up. Number 12, how long are you planning to stay? Your answer must align precisely with 3 things: your visa or entry permission duration, your return ticket, and the itinerary you've described. If you say you're staying 2 weeks but your return ticket is booked for 6 weeks out, you will be questioned further. If your answer here conflicts with anything in your travel documents, the officer has grounds to escalate. In 2026, many borders, particularly US CBP and UK Border Force, cross-reference your stated duration against prior entry history in real time. If you've consistently used the maximum allowable stay on prior visits, officers are trained to probe further on current intentions. Keep your stated duration honest, specific, and document-supported. Number 11. Do you have anything to declare? This question has a binary answer at the surface, yes or no, but the correct answer depends entirely on what you're carrying and what the destination country's declaration thresholds are, and those thresholds updated in multiple countries entering 2026. In the United States, you must declare all food, plant material, and animal products regardless of quantity or perceived risk. Currency or monetary instruments totaling $10,000 or more must be declared. This includes cash, traveler's checks, and certain monetary instruments combined. The EU's threshold is €10,000. Canada's is 10,000 Canadian dollars. Australia requires declaring all food, plant material, wooden items, and biosecurity risk goods without exception. The most expensive mistake travelers make is assuming declaring means admitting to something illegal. Declaration is not an admission of wrongdoing. It's a legal requirement for specific categories of items. Officers would far rather you declare something that turns out to be admissible than discover an undeclared item during inspection. Failure to declare carries fines starting at $300 in the US and escalating to permanent entry bans in Australia for repeat violations. Unusual fact entering 2026. AI-powered X-ray analysis at several major airports is now flagging organic material in luggage with significantly higher accuracy than human-only inspection, making the odds of detection for undeclared food items higher than at any point in travel history. Number 10. Where are you staying? Have a specific answer. "I'm not sure yet," or "I'll figure it out when I land," are answers that generate immediate suspicion, particularly for first-time visitors or travelers on short stays. Officers interpret accommodation uncertainty as a potential indicator of no genuine tourist intent. You need the full name and address of your hotel, Airbnb, or host. If you're staying with a friend or family member, know their full name and address, not just their first name and general neighborhood. If your accommodation plans change during your trip, that's fine. But at the border, you need a concrete first-night answer that you can state without hesitation. Number 9. Have you visited any farms, rural areas, or been in contact with livestock recently? This question is asked consistently at Australian, New Zealand, Canadian, and increasingly US entry points, and it catches travelers off guard because it sounds optional. It is not optional. It is a biosecurity screening question with legal declaration requirements attached. If you hiked in rural areas, visited a farm, went horseback riding, attended an agricultural fair, or had any contact with livestock, soil, or rural environments in the 30 days prior to travel, the correct answer is yes. Declaring yes does not mean your items will be confiscated. It means your shoes and gear may be inspected or treated, which takes minutes. Failing to declare and being found with soil on your hiking boots in Australia can result in fines exceeding $500 Australian on the spot. Number 8. What do you do for work? Answer this question precisely, but without volunteering. Information beyond what is asked. The officer is checking for several things simultaneously: whether your occupation is consistent with your stated trip purpose, whether your income level is consistent with your travel pattern, and whether your employer has any flags on record. A common trap: travelers who are self-employed, freelancers, or remote workers entering on tourist visas. If you're a remote worker who works for a foreign company while traveling, you must understand the distinction between working remotely for a foreign employer while visiting versus performing work for clients or entities in the destination country. The former is generally permissible in most countries on a tourist entry. The latter requires a work permit. With digital nomad travel rising sharply, border officers in 2026 are specifically trained to identify travelers who may be conducting local commercial activity on tourist documents. #7. Have you ever been refused entry, deported, or had a visa denied? This is a sworn declaration question on most entry forms and during officer interviews. The correct answer requires you to know your complete travel history, not just recent travel. A visa refusal from 15 years ago in a different country may still need to be declared on certain destination country forms. The US Y-94 arrival process, the UK's entry form, Canada's ETA system, and Australia's ETA all ask variants of this question. Answering no when the answer is yes, even for a decades-old incident, constitutes a false declaration, which is a deportable offense in many jurisdictions and can result in a multi-year or permanent entry ban. Before traveling internationally in 2026, audit your complete visa and entry history. If you have had any past refusals, consult the specific declaration requirements for your destination before assuming the answer is not relevant. Number 6. Who packed your bags? The expected answer is you. If someone else packed your bag, even a spouse or parent, say so honestly and explain the circumstances. The follow-up question will be whether you know the contents of your bag, and your answer to that must also be yes. Where this question becomes critical: if you are carrying items for someone else, even well-intentioned ones like gifts or packages handed to you at the last minute, you are assuming full legal responsibility for those contents at the border. "I didn't know what was in it" has not been an accepted legal defense in customs proceedings for decades. And in 2026's enforcement environment, accepting unknown packages for transport across international borders is a risk that cannot be overstated. Number 5. How much money do you have available for your trip? Officers at several borders, particularly UK Border Force, which is known for detailed financial questioning of visitors on tourist entries, use this question to assess whether you have genuine means to support your stated visit. If you say you're staying for 3 weeks but can only demonstrate access to $300, your stated tourist purpose becomes difficult to substantiate. You don't need to carry cash, but you should be able to state a credible, honest figure that covers accommodation, food, transport, and activities for your stated trip duration. Having your bank app accessible on your phone to show available balance if asked is a legitimate and increasingly common practice. The officer may not ask to see it, but being prepared to show it reinforces your credibility immediately. Number 4. Do you have ties to your home country? This question targets one of the primary concerns of border agencies globally: that a visitor intends to overstay and remain illegally. Ties to home country means concrete reasons you will return: employment, family, property ownership, educational enrollment, or other obligations that bind you to your origin country. Strong answers reference specific, verifiable ties. I'm employed full-time as an engineer. My job is expecting me back on the 15th, and I have a mortgage on my home. Weak answers are vague. I have family there. If you are unemployed, between jobs, or recently moved, this question requires more careful preparation. The strongest single piece of supporting evidence is a return ticket with a definitive date that you've already purchased. Number 3. Have you ever been arrested or convicted of a crime? This is the question where travelers most commonly make well-intentioned but legally consequential errors. The exact scope of what must be declared varies significantly by destination country, and many travelers apply the rules of their home country incorrectly to a foreign border. The United States requires disclosure of arrests regardless of whether a conviction followed. Canada can deny entry for certain convictions, including DUIs, that would be considered minor in many other countries. Australia's character requirements are among the strictest globally, with potential denial for any offence resulting in a sentence of 12 months or more, regardless of when it occurred. Before international travel in 2026, research the specific criminal history declaration requirements for your destination country. For any past arrest or conviction, even expunged or spent convictions in your home country, verify whether they must still be declared at your destination border before assuming they are irrelevant. Number 2. Questions related to biometric data and device searches. In 2026, this has become one of the most important categories of border interaction travelers need to understand, because the rules are evolving rapidly and many travelers are completely unprepared. USCBP officers have authority to search electronic devices at the border without a warrant and without needing to provide a reason. This applies to both US citizens and foreign nationals, though the legal framework differs. UK Border Force has similar powers. Australia's demand device access with criminal penalties for refusal. In 2025, USCBP conducted over 47,000 device searches, a figure that has increased year over year for 8 consecutive years. The correct answer when a device search is requested is not what most travelers assume it to be. Refusing a device search as a foreign national at US ports of entry can result in immediate denial of entry. You do not have the same Fourth Amendment protections at the border that apply within the country. For US citizens, refusal cannot result in denial of entry, but devices can be detained and inspected without your presence for an extended period. The practical preparation advice. Before international travel, ensure you understand what is stored on your devices. Work-related confidential data should be removed or encrypted before crossing borders if your employer requires it. Activate biometric and passcode locks. Officers can request you unlock a device but generally cannot compel biometric access under current legal guidance in several jurisdictions. Know your rights specific to your citizenship and destination before you arrive at the counter. Number 1. The secondary inspection question. Is there anything else you'd like to tell me? This is the question most travelers never prepare for because it sounds like a courtesy. It is not. This open-ended question, typically asked at the end of a primary inspection interview or at the beginning of a secondary inspection, is one of the highest stakes moments of any border crossing because it is your last opportunity to voluntarily disclose anything before the officer concludes their assessment. The correct approach has 2 components. First, if there is anything relevant you haven't disclosed, an undeclared item, a past entry issue, a detail you misremembered during earlier questions, this is the moment to raise it. Voluntary disclosure at this stage, while potentially leading to additional scrutiny, almost always, results in better outcomes than discovered non-disclosure. Second, if you have disclosed everything accurately and completely, your answer is calm, direct, and brief. No. I've told you everything. What officers are assessing in this moment is not just content, it's composure. A traveler who has been truthful throughout has nothing to produce anxiety here. Nervous body language, extended pauses, or qualifications like "I don't think so" or "I can't remember if I mentioned" all generate follow-up. Practice your answer. Know your own travel history well enough that no honest question should make you hesitate. The border is not the place to improvise, guess, or assume that vague answers will be fine. every question on this list has a correct answer. And that correct answer is almost always the honest, specific, concise truth delivered without unnecessary elaboration. In 2026, border agencies globally are better equipped, better trained, and better data connected than at any booking point in history. The traveler who prepares, who knows their accommodation address, their trip duration, their financial means, their complete entry history, and the declaration thresholds of their destination, will move through primary inspection in under 2 minutes. The traveler who doesn't may spend the next 4 hours in a secondary inspection room, explaining inconsistencies that a little preparation would have entirely prevented. If this helped you travel smarter, hit like and share this with someone who has an international trip coming up. Subscribe for more travel intelligence that the industry won't tell you voluntarily. And drop a comment telling us which question caught you most off guard, or share a border crossing experience that went sideways because of something on this list.